Hey everybody, welcome back to Nintendad. I'm your editor-in-chief, Abram Buhner, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Min Min in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate because her DLC content just dropped, and I played her a little bit last night, and as you'll see in the background in my very mediocre first playthrough of her classic mode, I'm still getting a feel for the character. She's very interesting, and I think that's my biggest takeaway from the half an hour, 45 minutes I've put into the character so far. So I guess before we get there, let's rewind for a second. I'm a big Smash Bros. Fan, I always have been my entire life, and something I've really appreciated about Ultimate and a lot of its newcomers is the way that they all really bend the mechanics of Smash Bros. To represent their series properly. So an example being Hero. Now I hate Hero, I think his RNG is absolutely ridiculous, but the fact remains that Sakurai did something really interesting and unique with his character, something that's really representative of where he came from. I think that's super cool, and I think that's been reflected in the playstyles of a lot of the new fighters. And it's hard to think of an example that's more true than with Min Min, because Min Min plays incredibly differently than most of the other characters on the roster, and that's making it hard for me to really vibe with her playstyle, but it also makes me appreciate her design a lot more. So essentially, you know, if you've been playing Smash Brothers, you're accustomed to A being your standard attacks, and B being your special attacks, and then you can use different directional inputs to change what moves you throw out. Well, with Min Min, things are kind of different because you throw her right arm or her left arm with A or B. So there's no dedicated special move button, and there's no dedicated normal move button. You're controlling her two arms independently. So, this makes her really interesting to play as, because it's a really great homage to ARMS and the way you play that game very methodically. They're very much different fighting games, and I was interested to see how Sakurai was going to translate what she does in ARMS to how she plays in Smash, and this is an interesting way to go about it. So, it leads to some interesting new gameplay opportunities, but it also leads to some sacrifices. So a big one is that she doesn't have a full suite of special moves now. You don't have a lot of the dedicated moves you're used to, and the ones you do have are a little bit confusing. So her up B, for example, you still have a recovery move, but it does different things if you're on the ground or in the air, which is interesting, and another fun inversion on how you typically would play with a Smash Bros. Fighter. So all of these changes really coalesce in a fighter that I think is interesting, but I don't know if she's as engaging and as intuitive as the other characters that Sakurai has added. From an aesthetic perspective, I really like her, but as I was saying, from the mechanical perspective, I'm just not sure if I like this two-button, one-button per arm fighting style, because I feel that it's limiting for me. I like having the range of very dynamic and versatile special moves mapped to the same button. I like the sort of mindset I get in when I'm playing Smash Bros. That way, because everything's very straightforward, and I know, okay, this is the input I want to put in here for this move, and so forth. But with Min Min, you really have to rewire how you play Smash Bros., which is neat, but I'm not sure if the reward is there. I think, you know, you can curve her arms, and you can charge them up, and you've got different arms you can swap through by using her down B to switch between 3 different types from arms, but it just doesn't feel to me like there is the depth to the character that you can achieve with someone who has a little bit more of a standard moveset, but has an interesting riff on them. For example, I think someone like Terry Bogard, or the Street Fighter characters, who add a lot of their own fighting game mechanics into Smash while still retaining that core Smash Bros. Moveset, I think that provides a lot more intuitive depth than what Min Min provides. Of course, it's also important to know that I'm not a huge ARMS fan in the first place. I love the character designs, and to that effect, I think Sakurai did a wonderful job representing Min Min in the game, and I think the stage itself is really glossy and really pretty, and I think that its jump pads are fun to play with, and I think it's got a neat gimmick, and it straddles a nice line, Spring Stadium, between being gimmicky but standard. Of course, it's never going to be tournament legal because there's a ceiling on it, but for someone like me who straddles the line between casual and competitive play, this is the sort of map I really enjoy. And while I was a little bit skeptical that it'd be too simple from its initial reveal, actually playing it, I actually really enjoy it. So from that perspective, I really like Min Min, from her aesthetics and from her stage. I think that's really great, but it's just that playstyle that feels like it has some artificial depth, but not a lot of legitimate depth. I don't know, I think I'm going to have to play more with her and experiment more and fight some other people at the Nintendad manner with her before I really have any conclusive opinions. But that's kind of where I'm feeling right now. I'd be really curious to hear the opinions of some of the top players, whether we're talking about Leffen, or Zero, or Esam, or really anybody playing right now. I'd really like to hear how the best of the best are reacting to the character. Because right now, for me, from my skill level, which, is probably not accurately demonstrated by this footage, considering I just picked up Min Min, but for my skill level, I think that she's not a character I'm really going to return to a lot. but I have to say that Sakurai did a really nice job putting her together, and also I have to say that I really appreciated the way she was presented initially. I loved that hand-drawn trailer that Sakurai put together, and I loved how much tension there was. I feel like with some of the Smash trailers, like the Banjo trailer, it's pretty obvious who the character is, right? You know, oh, here comes the Jiggy hopping along, and there's the Duck Hunt fake out, but of course, you know, it's gonna be Banjo in the end. What I really liked about the Min Min trailer was that, yeah, you see her standing in the back while people are eating ramen in the foreground, and of course, if you played ARMS, you know that ramen's kind of her signature thing, so it's like, okay, yes, it's Min Min. But then it cuts into the actual ARMS match, and you see all the characters fighting, and it really looked like it was going to be Springman for a second, and then he gets knocked out, and they're all fighting for the Smash invitation, but Min Min isn't there, so at the back of my mind, I kind of still knew it was her, but there's an interesting degree of tension where other characters like Ninjara might get it, or anyone else. But in the end, it was Min Min, and I thought between just how fun and connected the trailer was, and how it was a solid fake out. I think that was one of my favorite Smash Bros. Trailers, period. So that was really great to see. I think one area that I am let down by the 8.0 update, though, is the fact that outside of Min Min, outside of her stage, and a couple of Mii Fighter costumes, like the really cool Volt Boy Fallout crossover costume, there really isn't anything to write home about here. I really think that it's time to potentially, if Smash Bros. Is going to continue to have this long DLC tail, it's time to add in some more modes. I think modes are really what's going to keep people coming back to the game. I know that when Joker came out, I didn't really like him that much. I'm not a Persona fan. I played him a little bit, but what I really spent a lot of time with was the stage builder and the online stage hub. And of course, you know, you can't add something that's evergreen as that again, but you could add something like a boss rush mode, or maybe bring Smash Run back or something. I think that now that we're into the second volume of the Fighters Pass, there is a possibility, I think, that Sakurai could bring more modes back to the game, because he did say initially that modes were done, but I think that if we're going to be entertaining a even longer DLC tail for this game, it's worth considering bringing some more substantive content, because a new fighter is fun, and if you vibe with her playstyle, maybe there'll be someone that you continue with for a long time. But for a lot of people, like with a lot of the DLC fighters for me, I play them for an afternoon, it gets me back into Smash Bros. Long enough to clear their classic mode, do some of their spirit matches, and understand their playstyle, but then I kind of hop out of the game again. I think some more modes, some more substantial changes to the game and additions would give it a longer tail and make it something that I pop into now for a week again after falling off for a while, instead of hopping in for an afternoon and then going back to all of the other games I'm playing on Switch. But that's really my only negative, and you know, considering that's something that's external to Min Min herself, I think that Sakurai did a really nice job representing her here. It'll be interesting to see who connects with her playstyle and who doesn't. Personally, it just wasn't really my thing, but I suppose that that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and now we still have a lot more fighters coming to the game. Personally, if you would indulge me for a moment, there's a couple fighters I really want. I'd really love to see Dante get in, I'd really love to see Phoenix Wright or Layton get in from a third-party perspective, and then there's other characters I really want from a first-party Nintendo perspective, but they're very niche. I want some Captain Rainbow in there, I want some Dixie Kong in there, I'd love QB in there, maybe Chibi Robo, you know, Slippy Toad. There's a lot of characters I want that are pretty niche, but I'm just very interested to see where Sakurai decides to take this next Fighters Pass and who he gets influence to bring in from Nintendo and other companies. So I'll be very curious to see how this whole thing unfolds, but we have the first taste of Volume 2 of the Fighters Pass in Min Min. Now, personally, I didn't actually buy the Fighters Pass. I choose to buy the Fighters individually because, like with the first run of content, I actually didn't even buy Hero. I just didn't really like his playstyle. So for me, it makes more sense to go individually. But I'm really curious, did you decide to pick up the entire Fighters Pass? Are you going character by character? How are you feeling about Smash Bros. Ultimate right now? How are you feeling about its DLC? Let me know any of those things in the comments below. I'm super curious to keep the discussion going. And if you want even more great Nintendo coverage and great content, video written, make sure you follow Nintendo all over the place over at our website, here on YouTube, on our Twitter. We're all over the place, and we got a lot of great content coming from our really talented team. So thank you all very much for tuning in today and talking with me about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and the Min Min update, and I'll be back with even more content for you really soon. I have been and continue to be Abram Buhner, and I'm signing off, and I hope you guys all have a fantastic day. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.